Hello, Adam Bazalgette here, founder of Scratch Golf Academy. Today, 2 golf drills to stop early release of the club. This is a really common thing. It's devastating to your ball strike. I'll give you 2 principles, a mental picture I think will really help you with some drills. And the end, a third sort of bonus practice principle. Hope these are helpful for you. So 3 issues that will plague you as a ball striker if you release the club early. That is to say, straighten your wrists early. Number 1, contact is never going to be very consistent with an iron with no cushion underneath it. You start getting the club here, you're going to scrape the ground, catch the ball off the bottom of the club face. That would be number 1, poor contact. Number 2, just generally a failure to compress the golf ball. You look at a baseball player, tennis player, you can apply pressure that way. You start hitting a baseball this way, you won't be in the major leagues. And great golfers hit the ball with the club in line with the front arm and at an angle to the back arm. So pressure. And thirdly, it costs you speed. And the reason it costs you speed, it's moment of inertia. The wider you get that club, the sooner, the more it slows it down. When you can keep the club close to you and more bent, there's much more freedom to create speed with a little pop of the wrist at the bottom. Let's have a look at 2 features that we're going to work on very briefly with a great player, then we'll get out and start fleshing it out. Sergio Garcia on the left there, one of the all-time great laggers of the club, and of course the great Jack Nicklaus on the right. So let's have a look at what's happening. Sergio, watch his hips with the trees there. They're pivoting, they're fairly centered. Watch how he drives towards that guy's hand over there. And it's that drive of the hips that loads the golf club. Look where his club is on the way back. And look how much closer to him it is on the way down. He certainly exaggerates that, I'll grant you that. But if your arc is staying the same width coming down as it was going back, you are early releasing. Let's get the great man himself here. He's about the side of the screen there with the middle of the golf club. Much narrower. Again, you see that forward shift to the hips. Most people, as we'll talk about in a minute, thrusting the club down too much, they get too wide. Now, let me give you one other mental picture I think will be helpful. Let's go with full screen Sergio here. If you look, let me make a slightly thicker line. Let's go, we'll call that the middle of his downswing. That's the middle of his body there. What we'll notice is the arc on the through swing, his club head's just off the screen about here, is significantly wider than it was on the downswing. So this is an important mental picture. You don't want to think in the downswing that the circle of the swing is equally around you. It should be narrow to wide. And the final feature we'll look at, or the second feature, so the feature number 1 is narrow the downswing by shifting the weight, wider on the through swing. The other thing is he's hitting the golf ball with less loft at impact than it had at address. We'll talk about that, but you have to be able to do that to avoid early release. There's a link below for Scratch Golf Academy. Hope you'll go check it out. Free 14-day trial, no credit card put in. Would love to have you browse the library, see if you think it's for you. If you do, we'd love to have you as a member. So this ability to load the club, to narrow the arc, is that difficult? It actually isn't difficult at all. You'd probably do it skipping a rock, anything like that. If you doubt that, grab the club. I've just got it with my fingers down at the bottom of the handle, and in a relaxed fashion, as the club's just going back, set your weight forward. You'll see how that club naturally loads. So what happens to people, believe me, this is super common. There is an excessive thrusting of the club and the arms and shoulders trying to create speed back here. And when you do that, you're going to dump the club. So you have to learn to let yourself flow. I'll give you a drill on that in just a second. And then the other thing here, I think, is just too much ball orientation. This is going to relate to the end of the video and we give you a little practice tip. But people, you see how the arc was much more narrow here than it was here. That you have to be playing to the target to do that. When people just fixate on the golf ball, they tend to stay too centered. They tend to release the club early. So you've got to start to let that go. As I say, we'll give you a couple of practice clues at the end of the video. Here's a good little drill. Put a club on the ground. Let's get rid of him for just a sec. And on a small scale, practice letting the club load and popping the ground over here well past the ball. There's a caveat to this, I'll tell you in a moment here, like that. Don't be afraid to move and be loose initially. Then, of course, you're going to get a golf ball there. Start to hit the ball before the ground like that. Now, what you don't want to do, and what you didn't see the pro do coming down, you don't want the top of your axis. You don't want this part moving way over here as you come down. And I think you can relate that. A great way to think about that, I think, is any downward hit you're creating, and you should be creating 4, 5, 6 degrees of downward hit, should be due to shaft lean. When the shaft's leaning, it's still going down, not to downward hit. So if you move your upper body forward, you're going to create too much downward hit there. All we're trying to do is get shaft lean and get the low point forward. So if you think more in terms of tossing the club or skipping a rock, admittedly the release here, that will help you shift your weight but still stay back and help you create some shallowness. So if you look at me in slow motion there, you can see, just as a follow-up, a little bit the other side of that tall tree, the radius narrows, and look at the space between me and the club there, much wider on that side of the ball. So we've got that. That's job number one. Job number two is you must hit the ball. You've got a lofted club with no tee under the ball. You must hit the ball with less loft at impact. Look how the shaft is leaning towards my front leg or the target. Less loft at impact than you would have had with the shaft vertical at address. We'll flesh that out in a moment, but that's going to allow you to compress and really pop the ball as you go through. I hope you'll consider sharing these videos, trying to make a bit of a comeback here at YouTube. And if you like the video, I'd love it if you share it. Thanks. Here's a great way to feel this. Take the golf club, we're assuming grip now, tilt the face down, which is also going to tilt it for the right-hander to the left. Now, push your hips and your hands towards the target and the face will start to get square. That's more the look you want. That applies pressure to the ball. That strikes it with authority. Right, that felt pretty good. So remember, as you practice this, as you give yourself the freedom to move and you start to get this trail arm, the grip of the club, if you like, beyond the golf ball this way with your hips forward, there's a predisposition to leaving the face open. A lot of times people that have, maybe their predominant shot pattern's a bit of a slice, which is most people, fair enough. When they start to get this thing lagged, they're not skilled at closing the club face. They start to flare some weak shots, right? And it sort of shoos them back and chases all that lag away. So make sure you get good at tilting the face, not by doing that, but by doing that. And make sure you do it fairly early. For most people, that has to feel like it's starting to happen here. Again, not this, but this. So if you can get the flow, you can start to get your hips moving, get your arc wider, you can start to get some skill at tilting loft off the golf club. You're just not going to be an early releaser. You're not going to spend your life doing that, which would be a great thing for you. Now, here's our third thing, sort of a bonus tip relates to practice. Most people, well, let's go higher than that. 90% of people make 100% of their mistakes behind the golf ball. What that is to say, they never make a good swing where the low point's so far forward they hit a bad shot. All mistakes are too far back here, sometimes approaching normal, neutral. That is just not a good way to get better. So you have to let go of I need solid contact at full speed right now. Give yourself some freedom. If you bottom out here a little bit, do your drills and say, okay, let's get one so far forward. I didn't even hit the ball. I got so far forward. Mix and match and do some trying to hit good shots. You'll open things up. Believe me, the gift of the subconscious mind, if you're doing these things as we're saying, and you hang out with it for 10, 15 minutes and just relax, you'll start to find the contact. You'll free things up. I hope this helps.